Let's see if I can see this part. Yep. So this is the connector, the disc that will feed power to the radiator. I believe this whole unit should pull clear. Okay, that's the first one. We'll take the bolt out and get that rubber ball looking thing out, and then see what else is supporting the transmission. I'll zoom back out. So that's where it is on the front driver's side of the transmission. So instead of taking this bolt out, we're going to take this bolt out and this one down here, because that way the bolts can come out and it can pivot. And I might have a chance of actually lining it up to get it put back in. Okay, those two bolts come from those two holes. That one and this one. That's the short one, this is the long one. So there's one more bolt that goes directly under here into the bottom. There's a nut on that. That's tied in with the other two bolts that I took out in the same little piece of blue tape. Okay, so the first of the rear supports, closest to the passenger side. We'll zoom in here a little bit. So there it is, off with the, it looks like a nut on one side, but it's actually a stud that goes into the housing of the transmission. Anyway, there's washers on both sides, and I'll just tape it up and make sure all that stuff stays with it. So, tow rope hooked into two pieces in the beam to a loop with a rather inadequate looking knot right now. Anyway, lifted the car off the tires, and I just put the ramps in underneath. The emergency brake is on. I'm going to go put blocks underneath before I get to the next section, or in the next disconnect on the transmission. In addition to the fact that I had a loose knot here, you can see some of the edge of the metal on the frame dug into the rope. I should have used a rag or something in between to make sure that I didn't damage my rope. So my rope is now slightly less strong. That part in there is the next, and I have to figure out, here you can see where it is, I have to figure out whether there's pins or bolts, or what exactly I have to take apart there. Hence, I had to crawl underneath, and that's why I lifted the car up and put it in the ramps. So you can, just below the blue tape there, you can see that is now disconnected. The bolt is put back in. So over here, we've got that one's disconnected. The one behind it's disconnected on the rubber there. And then we got one more just above that. Can't really point it in it with anything. Anyway, there's one more left there, and there's two bolts on the transmission, which kind of help keep the transmission together. I'm not really all that fond of moving that one. Then there's that one bolt that you can see here just above the rubber, which if I take it out, I'm not sure how the transmission is going to pivot up. So maybe I'll take the two bolts out of the transmission, put them back into the transmission, and see whether the bracket or whether the support will pivot out of the way. So that bolt in the viewfinder there, I can get all off, but the head on the other side is captive, so I can't screw it out, but I did get it off. Now we'll go to the ones I couldn't get off. So here is the first bolt that I couldn't get off, and here's the second bolt I couldn't get off. Actually that one's the top one, the bottom one's under there. I've tried the maximum pressure on my impact. I've tried a socket with the longest snipe that will fit under the car with me. Tried my closed-in wrench with, again, the longest snipe that will fit down there with me. I can't get the sucker off. So what I'm going to do is go back under here. So under here is where I'm going to put my hydraulic jack and lift this whole frame, and then that's how I hope to get the things aligned. So I guess I'm going to see how far away I am from getting it aligned and how much more I have to go, and perhaps some new method of getting those bolts off will strike me, and we'll get some play and get her lined up. Okay, a 2x4 on the bottom, a paint can, and 2 2x4s on top is not my ideal of a lift, but I'm just checking to see how much play there is in the transmission, so this will do for now. Okay, this is what's preventing me from going further with the tilt, and being able to stick your finger inside the boot like that is bad. So that CV obviously needs to be replaced. This over here is a hard axle that is connected to the transmission. There is no CV on the inside there. It's actually out here, and then the outer CV is back under there at the wheel. So the amount of flex that there is in this setup, I guess, isn't as much as I was expecting. Anyway, that's broken all the way around, and I didn't really move it that far, so I think this was actually an existing problem with the car that I was going to have to fix anyway. I'm not sure that I can tilt that transmission up as much as I want because this whole mechanism's in the way. So option is to take the wheel off and pull this out and drain the oil in the transmission, I think. Or basically that's part way to taking the transmission out. Now, this is the easy end of the transmission to take apart, so maybe I will give this a shot first.